council for a few years. I was the mayor of the town for 12 years, now lieutenant governor, and now I'm governor. So it's been a full effort to continue to do what I think is really important for the entire state. So I'd like to take just kind of like really go on that, what's happening nationally that's impacting all of us, what's going on statewide, and then the local community of Cumberland, which I continue to try to make sure that we're getting our fair share of things, including a couple $1 million that went into this building. So on a national level, look, we're getting pushed by Trump and the administration every single day. It is difficult to manage. We are managing it, and along with the General Assembly members that are here. But yes, people who have food issues that the president took away the food SNAP program in October because of the government shutdown. I was the first governor in the country that just said that's not going to happen under my watch, and we actually pulled some dollars that we could appropriate there, and then no one lost the benefit during that time frame. But it is a reflection of a president that is really not very caring of people who have certain needs. The cuts that happen to do with our health insurance, for instance, and the General Assembly approved what I had put in the budget to help about 20,000 people that would probably have fallen off health insurance because of President Trump. And then the attacks that we have on our Fourth and Fifth Amendment in terms of the ICE raids, that especially what happened out in Minneapolis. We are pushing back. I got a letter from Pam Bondi who said that I want to have all the information of everybody that's on a SNAP program in the state or DHS, and I did not even return that. So we're standing up to a difficult time and trying to make the best out of a very bad situation. On the state level, I've set a plan that I think is really working, and I'll just share an overview on that. We're focusing on four main things, really helping our young people reach their potential in their education. Well over $4 billion of school construction is going on in the state right now since I've been governor. And part of that is happening right here in the town of Cumberland. And also, really focusing on strategies that can help a year-round strategy on education, so that in every home, every day, learning matters. That's the building that you're sitting in here. That is going to help facilitate that here. I was just down in Charlestown this morning. They just opened up a facility in there on the back side of their library, which is similar to what we did with the OCYL. So we're going to continue to really have that one of our main goals. The second goal is to raise income in the state. We want to raise incomes in every household in the state of Rhode Island. And right now we've added, since I've been governor, over 37, almost 38,000 private sector jobs have been added since I've been governor. By a strong focus on making sure that we're not putting all eggs in one basket like 38 studios. We have a life science hub now that never existed before. We have issues that are going on down in Quonset, that is growth down there. Fidelity has just added about 3,000 jobs, which is up here in northern Rhode Island. That story is a long one to fill in all the numbers, but it's true. And so we're raising incomes. Just on life science, we doubled the amount of people that are on life science right now, and taking the average income from about $120,000 to a little over $170,000. So that area that we're really making some real strong headways. And then we want to be healthy. And so recently there was 2 hospitals in Providence, North Providence area that were on the brink of closing. And I provided the leadership to actually make sure that we were able to move forward, and the General Assembly approved about an $18 million stopgap that was put in. I signed that, but also on the snowstorm that we all don't remember because we actually managed it well locally as well. So the blizzard of 26, as we're managing the snowstorm, our office is finalizing some very complicated financing on that project. And now those 2 hospitals are open, 2,400 jobs were saved, and tens of thousands of healthcare visits are now in a situation where I think that the healthcare will be provided for those who need it. And then finally, the issue that I think is really important is let's keep building things. That was never in the formula before. But we're building millions and millions of square feet, whether it's in public construction, and we're putting people to work in really good paid jobs. So when we build a soccer stadium in Pawtucket, 2.5 years, you had people earning a good living, going home, and being able to pay their bills. So when we built 3 million square feet on the private side at Amazon, you had over 2,000 people working over there for 3 years, and now 1,500 new jobs are developed there. So we're going to keep building things, and I would just give you examples. Making sure that we're investing a significant amount of dollars and effort in our Rhode Island College, CCRI, and URI. Rhode Island College was on life support when I showed it. Today it has the largest freshman class in the last 15 years. I recruited Congressman Langevin, and we opened up a cybersecurity school there. And because the voters approved a ballot question, they're going to be breaking ground on a brand new cybersecurity school at Rhode Island College, and there'll be 1,000 students in there, 250 a year, graduating into 6-figure jobs. And we also, the General Assembly's help, we extended the Hope Scholarship, which is a big deal because if you're tracking towards a 4-year degree and your first 2 years you're on board with that, the last 2 years that we're going to pick up, they'll be tuition free for the student. And that's for every household in the state. It's not any income level strategy. There's every single household. Or at CCRI, which we have put in apprenticeship programs, partnered in with Citizens Bank recently for apprenticeship programs where people are going to get an apprenticeship job there, paying them close to $30 an hour for 2,000 hours of work, and it's connected in primarily into the artificial intelligence that is really a key issue for us. And down at URI, look, URI right now has just been ranked for the 2nd year in a row as the top public university in New England. And that's not an accident. We have put in, on the Bay campus alone, we probably have contributed close to $200 million. And the construction that's going on in there right now, that's a big deal. And then we've just converted all the athletic fields, there in terms of the track, in terms of the football stadium, in terms of the baseball stadium. And then we're also triggering and starting in a strategy for a medical school there, which I think is going to become a reality over the next 6 years or so. So I'll leave it at that, but I can tell you locally, I'm still got my feet in the ground coming. When we eliminated the car tax, and that was under my watch, the last $100 million came in under my watch, under my budgets. And Cumberland was at a gap there because of being unsynchronized for close to $2 million. We filled that gap. Made sure that the budget was balanced. And then in terms of the investments we're making here, investments we're making in the schools at BF Norton, we're going to continue to make those investments. We have a road restore program with a $10 million line item in the budget this year that puts $1 up for every $2 that a local community puts there. And I believe that hundreds of thousands of dollars will come to Cumberland under that program. So I'm here to ask for your support. I believe that where we're headed right now in the state of Rhode Island, we've never seen before. The unemployment rate is still under 5%, and it's lower than both Massachusetts and Connecticut right now. We've never seen that. We've always been the first in and last out of economic downturns. But with the work that we're putting in, the plan that we have, the partnerships that we have in the General Assembly, as well as the state level, we can keep that progress going. And so I'm asking you for your support. You've given me your support before, and I'm asking you for the support again, and I'll open up to any questions that you may have. So thank you very much for listening.
Any questions for the governor?
Yes.
I keep hearing people that are running for office right now talking about AI. Obviously, there are benefits to AI, but we also know that AI data centers use a massive amount of electricity. We're seeing people in tiny little houses living in places like West Virginia have $954 a month electric bills. We don't have enough capacity for the electricity we need now, let alone the new homes we're building. We need don't have enough water in some places. We know they can use as much water as a town the size of Cumberland. So when you talk about AI, does that include building data centers in the state that would harm us and
Yes.
that our residents don't?
Well, thanks for asking the question, because what you're saying is right on target. The water usage, the electric bill usage, by the way, I got about half of what I was looking for. I was looking for about $1 billion worth of savings this year on our electric bill. That didn't happen, but I'm going back and getting the rest of that. You can't achieve that if you don't have a data center that's absorbing whatever additional costs actually go into our bills. So unless there's a strategy that could show that the ratepayer is held harmless, I'm not going to support that. And then you also have got the problem with the water you talked about. You know, there was one on the drawing board potentially for Smithfield. I think Smithfield put a moratorium on that right now, which I think was a smart thing. They were talking about over 500,000 gallons of water a day.
Yeah.
So if you can't contain that into your own structure and not absorb the real and have that pass through the residents, I'm not supporting that.
I just met with planning board members last week to work on a similar ordinance for Cumberland to the one they passed in Smithfield, because I do think the cities and towns need to work on protecting themselves, because you're seeing in places like Texas, not only massive data centers and tax breaks given to them, which I know legislators have proposed sales tax breaks, which would go to multi-billionaire corporations that do not need them in this state for a very short term of just building that would provide work. And in places like Texas, they're tending to go in underserved communities and communities that are majority people of color. And I think it's really a shame to see this happening with no regulation or breaks in order to make sure that we're taking care of the people as much as we do people like Elon Musk. So.
Well, yeah, and if you want us to participate in that discussion, all the things you're talking about there are true. The AI does have some upsides, and so I put together a steering committee with Congressman Langevin and one of our small business owners, and they had a broad base of people that actually were on there from healthcare to nonprofits to business, and now we have actually about a 65-page document that is meant to be like the foundation of a strategy going forward. We can get that to you as well. It sounds like you're interested in. And then that cybersecurity school that I'm talking about at Rhode Island College is a big deal, by the way. This is not a small deal over there. We're looking at actually having a cybersecurity AI, because we need to educate people on how to use the AI that can be productive. And that's what we plan to do.
And at the same time, do you see any additional education coming out, particularly for seniors, because the threat to pretty much everyone, but especially people that might not be as adept at picking these things out for scams and fraud, is really going through the roof?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing on these 21 learning centers that we're opening up throughout the state of Rhode Island, and a number of communities are partnering, like Middletown is partnering with Newport, Richmond's partnering with Hopkinton, Foster's with Gloucester. We're going to provide a menu that local municipalities can choose off of. They can select or not select it, but we're going to provide an education menu. We're going to provide a job menu, like a strategy to help with jobs and a strategy with help. And then we'll have this menu because there's a 5-year agreement that we have with communities that have signed compacts with us that will really try to achieve the goals we've set. So I see that as a real setting on a statewide basis, to have an AI strategy for all age groups, right? And then when at Rhode Island College, there will be programs there too that are not just degree programs, but certificate programs as well. So I'm happy to connect you in with that, with Congressman Langevin and that whole crew, because it sounds like you have a good interest in that. And we want to really make sure that we're listening locally.
Yeah, it's important, but also we need to balance, because we really don't have the infrastructure to support, especially on the power side.
Okay. I'm really concerned about the power. I've been very vocal about it. I think that I talked a little bit about the Trump problems that are causing. Well, he's causing problems for our energy.
Yeah.
So we set an act on climate. Well, the Act on Climate was to set, to have like, for us to reach those goals, we need about 13,500 electric vehicles on the road every year. There's only 500 electric vehicles for sale right now in the state. So you're not gonna hit those goals. So that's why I was saying, let's extend the years out and save the dollars so that we're not passing those costs on with a goal that is really not achievable right now. So there's some people who might disagree with that, but that's what New York has just done, that's what Kathy Hochul's done, that's what they've done, Governor Healy up there. We've got a little bit of the way, but I think that we need to go even more on what you're talking about, because people are having trouble, paying their bills. I was on the call with Courtney from United Way, I don't know if you know Courtney, but she's the CEO there, and she was sharing with me that the calls on the utilities right now are up 365%. And I said to her, I need you to partner in with me to make sure that we continue to provide the savings that we need under the circumstances that the Trump administration has put us in. So yes, I'm happy to include you in those conversations. Yes?
Hi there. I second the data center thing. There's no way we can afford the water itself. But what are your plans to bolster the budgets of our local public schools?
Yeah, so we've been doing that. And this year, there was about a 7-8% increase on state aid to Cumberland, a little over $2 million. We put up the, continue to raise the success factor, there's a portion there. And the General Assembly, approved that, those additional dollars. I think that we gotta continue to look at the funding formula. The funding formula was such that it was in such bad shape when I was a mayor that I put all the municipal leaders together because Cumberland was really getting shortchanged at that time as well, like big time. So I think that especially those who are interested in the funding strategies into our schools should be really participating in this whole discussion about the funding formula. Rhode Island Foundation's put out a strategy. I can tell you that it's not, in my opinion, really focused on a community like Cumberland. So I think that we really need to really have our ears to the ground on that. And I'm gonna put together a dueling report that talks about all the communities in the state of Rhode Island and how to take a certain amount of dollars and distribute them fairly. Happy to have you involved in that too. That's a big concern of mine right now. Walking into a funding formula just because the Rhode Island Foundation put it out in a way that somehow you think that it's going to be a benefit, we really need to really dig deeply into that report. Yes.
So I was reading the housing facts book, looking for some statistics for other things, and Cumberland's numbers for how much it costs to live in Cumberland really stood out to me. I'm lucky enough to live in an apartment that's affordable and I have a decent job. Thanks. It is $2,600, over $2,600 is the average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Cumberland. You would need to make $105,000 a year to be able to afford that apartment, and like 50% of Cumberland renters are cost burdened. And so one of the things I think about a lot I think there's a lot of conversation about high-end apartments, and there's a lot of conversation about apartments for individuals that are very low income. I think there's a lot of people that fall somewhere in the middle that have decent jobs but aren't making $100,000 a year, that there isn't a lot of stock for. So is there a way that you can think of to incentivize people who may already be providing apartments at reasonable rent, to incentivize them to sign a deed restriction or do other things to kind of build that stock of middle ground housing?
Again, thanks for that question, because there was no housing plan when I showed up as a governor. And I was asked to deal with from homelessness all the way through the fair market and deal with something that certainly is considered if not a crisis, it's certainly an emergency. And since then, we've established a Secretary of Housing, a housing office. That housing office did not have a governance model that you could actually manage and hold me accountable for about 2 years. We were able to get a governance model in place. Now we have a Secretary of Housing that I meet with every other week to talk about the very things you talk about. And there is a housing plan, a 2030 housing plan that we've talked about having 15,000 housing units by the end of 2030. We've already started or completed in that range of affordable housing close to 7,000 units since I've been governor. And I know there's discussions of doing some things in Cumberland as well. And I really made sure that it wasn't, this housing issue was something that we read, that housing report would actually show a number that we anticipate or are encouraging the communities to hit. So it's spread around the whole state of Rhode Island. It is moving in a more positive direction, but that has not been tackled. The other piece that I really think is really important is home ownership for young people or first-time homeowners, wherever that age group is. And so the first batch of dollars that I put in was about $250 million for housing coming out of the APRA funds. And that we set aside close to $30 million for first-time homeowners, and we got almost 1,700 people into their first home. Now, the bonds that got passed at $120 million last election, and the General Assembly has approved $120 million that I asked them to put on the ballot for November. There's going to be not only the areas you're talking about, but it'll also be another home ownership strategy. Because I really think there needs to be a path for home ownership. And so we're focusing on that area, especially people who are, need some help. Treasurer DeRosa did a great job because he's matching up funds that the state is investing in our financial institutions, and then having those dollars come out without some of the expenses that are put on a mortgage, right, with your taxes and your insurance, right. So, and he's put about 80 people into home ownership. So it's a problem that we kick the can down the road on a lot of things in this state, a lot of things. And I am working to make sure that we're not kicking the can down the road any longer, and that's why we're being very aggressive on this housing. So what you're saying is accurate, and we need to continue to be addressed. But one of the things that is not being acknowledged by some people that might want to take me out of office is that the 7,000 units have actually been constructed or under construction since I've been governor. That's never happened before, and we're up over 150% on the building permits that are statewide as a result of the work that we're doing with the General Assembly. Anything else? Okay, I think I'm going to take my gels and go. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.